Coming up on this episode of Common Denominator.
We did our very best, and it was an exhilarating feeling to know how hard you can work without dying.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator, straight up conversations with me, Moshe Popack. The Winter Olympics are days away, and today we're talking with Anita DeFrantz, who won a bronze medal as the captain of the U.S. Women's 8 rowing team at the 76 Summer Games. She'll share that extraordinary experience, discuss her ongoing role as a member of the International Olympic Committee, and give her thoughts on the upcoming games. Anita, it's an honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Common Denominator. Thank you. So take us back, 1976, right? That feeling, if you close your eyes, that feeling that you have now, going back to there. What is that like, winning a bronze medal in Montreal, 1976?
To be honest with you, we were not happy. We came for the gold, and alas, two countries that no longer exist won this gold and silver.
It's interesting. I love the honesty, because I believe that you have that fight in you, right? It's like that's all, right? I get it. Trust me, I'm part of that, but I do still, even though it's years later, I still to reach bronze in the Olympics is a tremendous accomplishment.
Yeah, third in the world. That's not so shabby.
Yeah, it is a big accomplishment, and I know it's years later. Do you think back to that final race? Do you have thoughts about it, positive or any other thoughts back to those days?
What I know is we did our very best. We didn't have the same jelly beans as the gold and silver medalists, but we did our very best. And it was an exhilarating feeling to know how hard you can work without dying.
Right. I love that's the standard, right? So I
Yeah.
guess probably your dream of going to the Olympics probably started from a young age, I would assume.
Yes and no. My father wanted my older brother and me to be the first African Americans on the U.S. Olympic swimming team, which was quite a goal and impossible to reach. But he motivated us, and we watched the 1968 Olympic Games, of course, the first that were actually televised as games instead of news items. And oddly enough, I thought, okay, that's a good idea, but it's not going to happen. And then I get to college, and a sport I'd never really heard of before is offered to me. And I thought, okay. And the man standing by the boat that I just happened to walk by that day at that time said, rowing would be perfect for you. And I thought, I've never been perfect for anything, but let's give it a try. He asked if I could swim. I said yes, since I was 4 years old. And then he said, well, meet us in the parking lot on Monday at 5:30 a.m. 5:30 a.m. Okay, what else? I'm not doing anything else at the time, so sure, I'll do it. And that began my love of being free, of being environmentally conscious. We put the water right back where we got it every stroke, and to be a part of a team. And the other thing I loved is we don't talk in the boat, only the coxswain talks. And so we can solve all the problems of the world as we're working as hard as we can. I was actually demoted to JV my senior year, which was quite embarrassing, of course. But then the coach says to me, but if you work really hard, you can make the Olympic team. I thought, yeah, let's see. A small coeducational liberal arts college demotes me to JV, and I can make the Olympic team. But then I use critical thinking, which taught me to really examine what's being offered. And I realized he really needed me to continue to row, or three other women would be denied the opportunities. I said, okay, I'm down with this.
That's a very important lesson, meaning in your mind, it doesn't matter what you're thinking at that moment. I think that every human has points of self-doubt because look what happened. In the end, you did, in fact, go to the Olympics. So you come in third place, 1976. 4 years later, you're like, you want your redemption, I assume, right? You're training for the Olympics, 1980, Moscow, and you find out U.S. says we're going to boycott the games. That must have been devastating for you.
Well, America might have what we athletes fought very hard for the right to compete. Not a penny of federal, state, or local taxpayers' money went into us finding our way to be the best athletes in our country and then potentially the best athletes in the world. So that was just plain wrong, and it still makes me angry because what about truth, justice, and the American way? It's like, how could they do that to us? So I thought, thank goodness it wasn't social media time because who knows what would have happened now. But I did my best to point out that we, the athletes, are the only ones who can make the decision about competing or not. And some athletes wanted to follow the president. That's fine. But those who didn't should have their right to compete.
Right. I know that's been in the news now, right? Going in to these Olympics in China, and there's different talks about that. And so just for the layperson, the idea is that each country's president decides whether there's going to be boycotts, or how does it actually logistically work?
In most countries, democratic countries in particular, it's not the president's decision. Now, in other countries than the US, there is a direct relationship to taxpayers' money and to support of athletes through their sports minister, which we do not have. So it's different from country to country, I should say. But in democratic countries, it's really up to the National Olympic Committee to send the team or not. And so if blame were to be placed somewhere, it would be on what is now called the USOPC for not having the courage to stand up on behalf of the athletes. They knew that we were self-financed. They knew that it at that time was typically once in a lifetime to be able to compete at the games. And yet, and I was a member of the USOC, now USOPC, and I did my best to convince them that this was the wrong approach.
But I know 6 years later, after being so vocal against the boycott, that you're nominated to join the International Olympic Committee.
To be brief, someone died to opening the space, which is not the kindest way to say that. But then the I'll just call it what it is now, USOPC, set up a committee to decide how to choose a number of candidates. And they had 10 requirements, and the 10th one said, if someone doesn't meet any of the other 9, but we like that person, it's okay. So I thought that was great. The USOPC had a tradition going back to 1976 that athletes had a voice, and athletes should comprise 20% of any decision-making committee. So when the numbers got dwindled down for the USOPC, there were 6 of us nominated to the IOC. The IOC Executive Board then chooses among the 6, and I drew the lucky ticket that time. And since 1986, I've been a member of the International Olympic Committee. I've served on the Executive Board for one time for a 9-year stint, and more recently for an 8-year stint. And I've been very proud of how much we have come into both the 20th and 21st century as an organization.
So it's basically, when you say international, it's kind of, I think of like an analogy like the UN, because it's basically many representatives from many different countries, right, that are on a board. And does the board decide which country to hold? Is it only, is it only just Summer Olympics or Winter and Summer Olympics? And does the board decide which location to hold the Olympics in?
Yes, on both, and we call them, the board is called the board meeting, which happens only once a year, unless there's a need for an extraordinary session. It's called the session. And we don't represent our countries like the UN. We represent the IOC in our countries, which is a difference that most people don't appreciate. But again, it is a completely different thing. And we, a part of our oath is to stay away from political, racial, sexual, and so forth interests in order to promote the Olympic ideals.
I know also in 1987, you became the president of the LA84 Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that foundation.
The foundation was the legacy of the 1984 Games and received 40% of the, what did we call it? We didn't call it profit, the surplus from the Games. The USOPC received 60% of the surplus, which they divided first among all the national federations. We call them NGBs. And then the remaining 40% went directly to the USOPC. So our 40%, however, was made the endowment of the LA84 Foundation. It was called something really too complicated first. And through that, we're able to finance over 2,000 sports organizations. We're also able to create our own programs. One that was most important for me was to teach people how to coach, to teach people that they are teachers, not people to make kids work hard and make them hate sport. And the other wonderful thing is we have a 365 library that's open through the internet. And it was digitized early on. And we did a lot of digitization before it became so much easier. And we're really proud of that because it has so much information, not only about the Olympic movement, which is fair. And for a long time, the IOC staff referred people to our website until they got going and realized the importance of having their own digital information, but also on sports in general. And it's really the finest library in the United States. And it's open 24/7, 365.
It's really,
you can
really
find
special.
it at la84.org.
I'll tell you, it's interesting because as a layperson, when you're reading, you hear, whether it could be this country, hosted the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics, and they lost billions of dollars. And I think that's an interesting point that actually there's a surplus. There was a surplus because maybe who knows? Maybe there's tons of surplus money. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, let me explain. First of all, we had Peter Ueberroth as the president, and what a remarkable man. He was exactly the right person at the right time. He was young, and all of us were even younger. It was amazing to be able to work in that environment of someone who had the vision. And then his second in command, Harry Usher, knew where everything was. He was brilliant. So first, we had the right leadership. Right. Second, an innovative way to finance the games was through the private sector, meaning sponsors. For the first time, sponsorship became real. And that changed the course of the Olympic movement. By the way, we only work with the host city. We don't, it's not a nation that's awarded the games. It's a city that's awarded the games. And the IOC, work with that organizing committee, not with the politicians, because we're not political. We say we're neutral to politics. I know that's hard to understand, right, but that is our position because we don't have any way to modify a government's policies. there are certain requirements and promises to keep that we have amped up since 2015 when Beijing was selected. And that was a different time. President Xi met with our president at the White House. People were embracing China as a country that could do a lot in the world. Well, times change. And now a lot of people, for a good reason, are not happy with the policies, perhaps in China. But for us, they're hosting the Olympic Games and the athletes will be able to compete.
So February 4th starts the games, right? Beijing. And obviously we've been almost 2 years in dealing with COVID. Compared to pre-COVID, what does that look like for the athletes?
Well, two things. First, we did it in Tokyo less than a year ago. So we have experience in how to handle an Olympic Games during a pandemic. It's not easy, but it works. And now anyone can look at the Beijing 2022.org and find what's called the playbooks for the athletes and administrators, which sets out very clearly what requirements have to be met and will be the guidance during the games. So every athlete can find that out, every interested citizen or non-citizen, anyone who has access to the internet can find the playbooks which explain what will happen during the games and what the requirements will be for even getting into the nation and so forth. But it's all out in public.
I didn't realize, I guess probably they're going to go on the outskirts of Beijing. I've never actually been to Beijing, but it's Winter Olympics, so we need mountains, right? Skiing, things like right? So it's probably on the outskirts.
They have the city and then they have mountains. So the mountains are, I guess, a couple of hours away, but they built a high-speed train because that will also become a resort for the citizens and also a training site for their athletes. Now, they are doing it a bit differently than Tokyo. In Tokyo, it was called the bubble. And in Beijing, it will be called the closed loop. And there are very strict regulations that will be put in place. And we do our best to make sure the athletes have the safe and fair opportunity to compete.
Yeah, I did see, you never know, right? So different athletes come out with different mental health issues. I'm sure there's more awareness and more tools for the athletes, right? You're competing on the highest levels. So, mental health awareness is a big passion of mine. So I know that the Olympic Committee and teams it seems like they're have a lot of awareness towards that.
Yes, and oddly enough, COVID really helped get the USOPC to provide ample facilities or access to mental health professionals anytime they need it. And it's free. So we finally have taken care of the athletes. I used to say the third month after the games, it's like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
It's like nobody asks if you're an Olympian or if you won a medal anymore. And usually they ask, oh, did you win a gold medal? I said, no, I didn't. And they walk away, but I did win a medal. But in the US, of course, gold is gold. And we understand that as athletes.
For sure. Any particular American athlete we should look out for in the Winter Games?
Oh, there are bundles of them. Naming names is really hard for me because that's one of the muscles I never worked on, but we'll have great opportunities for medals in skiing, a lot in speed skating and short track speed skating, the bob and luge and skeleton. And let's not forget our ice hockey teams, who, especially the women, will be glorious. I mean, practically every sport.
Definitely. I know you're probably excited to actually, like you said, be there live in Beijing. I know myself and my family are going to be watching the games, so we're really excited. How can people find out more about you and the wonderful work you're doing?
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Well, I do have a webpage, AnitaDeFrantz.com. But may I say one really important thing that I
Sure.
have, and I usually start out with this, and this is knowledge from the original Anita DeFrantz, my mother. I am a mere imitation. But she taught us when we were children, my three brothers and I, that there is one race, the human race. I added, we are all the same and each of us is unique. Even identical twins are not identical. So this word RACE has been the greatest divider, and it's actually a stupid word that was really created to make it possible for people to do really mean things to other people, pretending that skin tone made a different race. That's nonsense. We are all one race, the human race.
So I wanna really applaud you on that because I live in Miami Beach, and down the block there's a church on the corner, and I always love Father Tim. He always puts up this great these sayings on kind of the board right outside, and exactly that point, we're all one race, the human race. He exactly said that, and I posted that on my social media, and that's we should keep promoting that. It's super important. So
Yep,
thank you.
I know it's a long, potential, ridiculous fight, but I always have that at the bottom of my emails as well, just to keep people maybe reading and thinking and using that thought muscle, as I say, critical thought,
Yes.
which seems to have atrophied in our nation, but using that to really ask why and why not something is being said.
Thank you so much, Nina. Really, it's been a pleasure, and good luck. Good luck in your travels, and you should be well and healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciated this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Common Denominator podcast. Join us next week for another inspiring, impactful, and empowering conversation. To learn more about Moshe, head to MoshePopack.com. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it. And we'd be grateful if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the show.